girls. Welcome to Tell a Tale ABC. Today our special letter is R. Look at that wonderful R. So you start at the top and you slide down, and then you go back to the top and you do a little curve around and go straight down. Now that's the capital R. And here's the little r. Straight down and back up and just a little tiny bit to the side. R is in so many words. It can start a word and it can be in the middle of a word. So you could have fun trying to figure out, where is that R? Kind of like an I Spy game. So today, R is our 18th letter out of 26 letters. So we're almost to the end. And I bet you all know what the last letter in the alphabet is. Z. But let's get on with our story today. And it's a wonderful story about Ricky the rock that couldn't roll. Well, let's see. Do you know a lot of rocks that can roll? But in this story, there are a lot of rocks and pebbles, and they roll. But there's one friend named Ricky. He can't roll because he's got a flat bottom. So let's see what his friends try and do so that Ricky can roll. Ricky the Rock That Couldn't Roll, and that's by Jay Moletsky. And here's that special hill that they like to roll on. Over the lake and out past the bay was a green grassy hill where the rocks came to play. They would race to the top to take in the view, then roll all the way down the way rocks love to do. There were Kip and Pip and Chester and Marvin the Boulder. Ignatius played too, though he was much older. And a group called the Pebbles never ever sat still, zigzagging their way up and down the hill. So here's Marvin the Boulder and Chester and Pip and Kip and Ignatius. And they are kind of round, aren't they? And now let's see what the other rocks are called. Here's Kai, who was a meteorite, and he wasn't from this planet. And here's Maya. She was made of lava, but taken for granted. And here's Stu. He's the smart one. And Parker, the clown. And grumpy old Ebert. And here's Gabby, who was kind of sassy. And Lacey, who had a flair. And here's Emma, who was rather giggly. And Hud had black hair. Oh my, lots of circles and shapes. But the one trait that seemed to be shared by them all was that every rock there was shaped like a ball. And because they were round, they could easily roll through the grass, past the lake, up and over the hill. Except for poor Ricky, who quietly sat. There's Ricky. He's not looking too happy, is he? You see, Rick, he couldn't roll because one side was flat. Oh no. his friends didn't get it. "Come on, roll," they would chant. "Come and roll." Oh, Ricky tried. Then he said, "I'm sorry, I just can't roll." But the rocks were determined. They were sure that they could solve Ricky's flat-sided problem and help him roll. So Marvin the boulder, with his impressive physique, carried Rick all the way to the hill's grassy peak. And then he pushed him downhill and yelled, "Keep rolling, kid! Keep rolling, kid!" But guess what? Ricky didn't roll. He just kind of slid down. Well, the rocks weren't done, not by a mile. Surely this next try would get Rick to smile. They stuck rubber balls all over Ricky, using big gobs of glue to get them to stick. Boy, were they proud of themselves. "This is going to work. This will work," they announced. But Ricky still couldn't roll. And now he just sort of bounced. Well, they pushed and they pulled, trying every which way to get Ricky to roll. But by the end of the day, nothing had worked, just like Ricky expected. And he ended up feeling depressed and dejected. "It's no use," Ricky sighed. "There just isn't a way. So I'll sit off to the side and watch you all play." But guess what? His friends wouldn't quit. "We're here for you, and we'll get you to roll one way or another." So they pondered and thought, each straining his brain, till they looked up and saw that it was starting to rain. And that's when it hit that smart stone named Stu. "Eureka!" he shouted. "I know just what to do." He explained to them how they would get Ricky to tumble. "My plan is pure genius." You know, Stu wasn't very humble. So they carried our hero down the road about a mile to the lake, where they gathered up mud they could pile on the flat side of Ricky, creating a mound, and they shaped and they smoothed and they sculpted until it was round. Then after the rain, with the sun in the sky, they left him to bake till the mud was all dry. Then they wrapped it all around Ricky, one colorful feather, to keep it together. Here it is, all wrapped around him with that colorful feather. Wow, look at that picture. Now you can really see the feather. And they did round him off, didn't they? When the last knot was tied and the work was all done, the only step left was for Rick to have fun. They stood back and watched, feeling nervous and tense, as Rick breathed in deep with increasing suspense. He moved slowly at first, testing out his new mold, and then for the first time, Ricky the rock rolled. Wow! So Bria the ladybug, who's been there from the start, felt a surge of pure joy swell up in her heart. She thought, as she watched her friends play on the hill, that there's always a way if there's always a will. And she said to herself as Ricky rolled down the slope, "When you're surrounded by love, you always have hope." And that's the end of our story for today. But here's another little fun part of this story. Here is Bria. And Bria is on every page in the story. So you can play I Spy when you read this book and see if you can find Bria at every page. Sometimes it's tricky. here she is. Let's see. She's up there again on Ricky. And here she is again. So she gets a little smaller at times. So that's another fun way to enjoy this book. Ricky, the Rock That Couldn't Roll by Jay Malitsky. Well, that's the end of our story for today, but I'll just quickly show you. Now, here is a book about a robot, which is another R word. That's kind of a fun one because he saves lunch. And here's another R word, raccoon, and he goes to the moon. And what about rainbow? That's another R word. And red, red, red. Do you like the color red? Oh, and here's Rosalind Rutabaga. And she digs the biggest hole on earth. So those are our stories for today. I hope you enjoy Ricky, the Rock That Couldn't Roll. And don't forget to look for your activity sheets. And I wrote you a little letter listing all the other titles that you might enjoy. And you'll have the R, and then you'll have some, there's a rainbow and an R. And here are some R words that you can practice and color. And you can make a rainbow and maybe a robot at home. And then you might find some rocks. And then you can color those rocks. Or you can also put ABC letters on them. So have fun with all these different activities, boys and girls. And don't forget, listen to the next letter that's coming up. Bye. It was good to see you today. Take care.